This week on ANN, the church in the Middle East and North Africa respond to deadly attacks in their territory.
The Adventist Development and Relief Agency helps in Sri Lanka after mudslides and flooding devastate the region.
And Adventists assist in the Philippines after a militant group forced evacuations in Marawi City.
These stories and more coming up.
Thank you so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Egypt and the Middle East and North Africa are grieving after a terrorist attacked a bus carrying Coptic Christians traveling to a monastery in Minya, Egypt. The May 26 attack killed 29 people and injured 25, including children.
The Adventist Church strongly condemns the terrorist attack in Egypt and violence in all its forms, said Clayton Feitosa, president of the Adventist Church in Egypt and Sudan. The Adventist Church extends its fervent prayers and spiritual support. May our God of peace and mercy grant us protection and love for one another.
This is the third major attack on Egypt's Coptic Christians in less than 2 months. Terrorists killed 46 Copts in 2 bombing attacks at church services in the northern cities of Alexandria and Tanta on April 9.
Rick McEdwards, president of the Adventist Church in the Middle East and North Africa, said in a statement, "It is times like these that we can uphold each other in prayer and mutual service. This world is terribly broken, and we seek for the touch of Jesus for the families who have been affected by this tragic act of violence. The attack is another reminder of our great hope in Christ's soon return to take his children to their eternal home where peace abides forever."
The Adventist Development and Relief Agency in Sri Lanka is on the ground after more than 190 people have been killed, 94 are still missing, and 475,000 more have been forced from their homes due to torrential rains and widespread flooding in the southern part of the country. The most urgent needs right now are food, safe water, and shelter. ADRA Sri Lanka is starting initial response with distribution of emergency rations like rice, flour, tinned fish, oil, sugar, and hygiene items for personal care and to prevent the spread of disease. Unfortunately, more rain is still expected in the coming days. For more information, you can visit adra.org.
Seventh-day Adventists are among those assisting evacuees displaced from the Philippines' largest Muslim city during militant fighting this past week. Members of a militant group invaded the Marawi City in response to a failed military attempt to capture the group's leader on May 23rd. Rodrigo Duterte, president of the Philippines, has declared martial law in the southern island of Mindanao to quell the fighting. Officials estimate that up to 2,000 of the city's over 200,000 residents remain trapped in the city. Thousands have left the city and made their way to Iligan City, located 38 miles or 61 kilometers north of Marawi. The influx of evacuees caused Iligan City officials to declare lockdown over fear that militants might try to enter the city. The Adventist Church is assisting in as many ways as possible. Institutions such as the North Central Mindanao Conference and the South Philippines Union Conference are providing financial assistance. The Adventist Medical Center in Iligan City stands ready to provide medical assistance as needed. A group of local members traveled almost 55 miles or 90 kilometers from Cagayan de Oro City to Iligan City. They delivered clothing, toiletries, and food to one of the city's 3 refugee centers. It was reported all of the faculty and students from the Mindanao State University Seventh-day Adventist Church were safely evacuated. Adventists in the region asked the World Church to pray for the people of Marawi and the Adventists who are striving to share compassion and represent our caring and loving God. For more information, visit news.adventist.org.
Ted Wilson, president of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, sent condolences and sympathy to victims and their families after 2 tragic incidents left Adventist church members and the world devastated. First, an accident claimed 18 people's lives and injured 26 more in Chiapas, Mexico after an accident in the mountainous region of Motozitla. The group was returning from a youth spiritual retreat when their rented bus fell into a ravine. Not long after that, the Adventist Church in the Trans-European Territory and Great Britain issued a response after a terrorist attack on concert-goers in Manchester, England. Adventist churches in the area opened their doors for counseling and for prayer. The hope of Christ's soon coming can bring great hope for the future. In addition to praying for those affected by these recent horrific events, of which we are keenly aware, let's also remember to pray for the many victims whose tragedies may not be reported in the news, but who are experiencing terrible suffering in silence. Let us each one determine by God's grace to let our lights shine wherever we are so that we can bring God's hope and comfort into this increasingly dark world.
Last week, more than 500 communicators came together in Mwanza, Africa for the first Global Adventist Internet Network, or GAIN, conference in Africa. Williams Costa Jr., Director of Communication for the Adventist Church, was there to join in all of these activities. Here is his report.
Today, I'm here in Mwanza, Tanzania, where our convention, GAIN, Global Adventist Internet Network, was held. Tanzania is a nation in East Africa full of exuberant natural beauties. It has almost 55 million inhabitants and its main language is Swahili. The Adventist Church has more than 600,000 members in Tanzania. For 6 days, 500 professionals and interested in technology, communication, and evangelism gathered to find innovative and creative solutions to speak of the love of Jesus.
So we decided to establish GAIN in Tanzania so that people from Tanzania who are not able to go to another places outside the country, they can learn through here.
GAIN Tanzania was attended by leaders from the Adventist headquarters and local speakers. The theme was Equipped for Mission.
GAIN Tanzania is an exciting event. They have hundreds of people from all walks of life who are excited about the mission of the church and are excited to be a part of what's happening with the church here in Tanzania.
I looked at the presentation of the reports from the conferences. Conferences present video, summarizing all they have done in communication.
The difference of this edition was the great interest of the participants and the music.
The choirs, this was a novelty in our gains, and so I was really, really blessed.
Tanzania has two unions, one in the north and one in the south. They work together without competition and without rivalry.
We believe in unity as a way which will bring us together and work in cooperation to make sure that the gospel of the kingdom is preached to everyone.
And those who attended and collaborated returned home encouraged to put into practice what learned.
I have not known the value of such a convention can inspire me that much as it did. And I'm quite delighted to see that that work will be of value and a spiritual thing for the people at my own country back home.
And what about the evangelism by internet? It works.
I see a lot of people coming to the church through baptism, through the use of technology.
During GAIN Tanzania, the film Opposites was launched on the African continent. The movie, which brings the story of overcoming Luis Sieto, a former homeless man who studied at some of the world's top universities, was greeted with a warm reception.
The movie Opposite was really an inspiration to me. Many young people never think that they could make a change in their lives. You need just to work hard, things can change.
I am going to use this movie to inspire my church members. What we need is just to trust in the Lord. Nothing is impossible. That was my inspiration from the Opposite move.
I say goodbye saying God bless you. In the local language, Swahili's Mungu akubariki.
More than 240 bus and taxi drivers were the beneficiaries of a free health checkup during a Know Your Numbers health drive that took place on May 27 and 28. The drive was organized by the Three Angels Pharmacy with support from members of local Seventh-day Adventist churches, health agencies, and companies in Mandeville, Jamaica.
400 people registered for the drive and had the opportunity to be tested for body mass index, blood glucose, cholesterol, blood pressure, eye exams, and HIV testing. Healthy lifestyles and general counseling, along with prayers for those who requested it, were also available.
A Seventh-day Adventist entrepreneur and owner of Three Angels Pharmacy, Rohan McNelly, felt satisfied that he, along with a team of volunteers, did their best to share the love of Jesus through his recently launched mobile clinic.
The idea of this outreach to the men and women who are responsible for transporting members of the public in Mandeville came when a taxi driver, friend of McNelly, died suddenly a few months ago. It is very important people be made aware of their health conditions, and I know many of these drivers are so busy they will not find the time to do health checkups until it is too late, said McNelly. So this is my gift to the community because I want all of us to be in good health.
Mayor of Mandeville, Councilor Donovan Mitchell, who also checked his numbers in the park on Saturday, commended the Seventh-day Adventist Church for reaching out to this special sector of the business community. What I see here today is the epitome of Adventism, knowing that a number of known Adventists are out here doing what they have to do on the Sabbath, said Mayor Mitchell. It is not just about church going, but about what you have to do to help humanity.
Coming up, learn about a cop who brings others to Christ.
But up next, Adra, Cambodia opens a new health center.
It was around noon when Peter went up to the roof to pray. It was here that Peter had a vision about a large sheet containing a mix of unclean animals, representing God's affirmation of the diversity of peoples in the growing church.
We had heard that Peter was staying at the house of Simon the tanner and were instructed by Cornelius the centurion to go out and find him.
While Peter was still thinking about the vision, the Holy Spirit told him to go downstairs because 3 men were looking for him. Peter went down and told the men that he was the one they were looking for.
We then told Peter that Cornelius the centurion had been told by an angel that Peter would come and see him at his house. So, unbeknown to Peter, Cornelius was already expecting his visit to Caesarea.
What happened here was quite unusual, just the fact that Peter entered the house. Remember that it was against the law for a Jew to associate with or visit a Gentile.
Cornelius told Peter how 3 days earlier he had been praying in his house when an angel had appeared before him.
Peter shared with Cornelius his new understanding that God does not show favoritism and is the Lord of all. This was a real turning point. From this point on, the gospel was also given among other people groups, and it all started out with prayer and fasting and a vision.
When my husband and I came to Christ together and were baptized, my family had a very difficult time with the transformation that God was making in our circumstances and in us personally. It was a painful time, and so I was convicted that I should just be still and that I should just pray and wait for God to resolve this situation.
Welcome back.
The Adventist Development and Relief Agency in Cambodia, along with HELP International, opened a new health center this month.
More than 850 participants joined the opening ceremony, including H.E. Soklu, the provincial governor of Kampong Thom, Mark Schwizo, director of ADRA Cambodia, Ralph Watts II, former president of ADRA International, and his colleagues from HELP International, Ralph Watts III, and James Lanning.
During the ceremony, H.E. Sok Lao, the provincial governor of Kampong Thom Provincial, stated that he is grateful to ADRA Cambodia and the donors who mobilized resources to build this health center that include delivery and waiting rooms.
The health center is in the Pound Village, Kaki Tham Commune, Baray district of Kampong Tham. With additional funding from HELP International, ADRA Cambodia is planning to construct 2 more health centers in Cambodia.
On May 31, the World Health Organization recognized World No Tobacco Day. Each year, tobacco and smoking kills more than 7 million people. 6 million of these are people who smoke directly, but around 1 million deaths come from secondhand smoke. Peter Landless, Director of Health Ministries for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, shares why secondhand smoke is so dangerous.
Tobacco smoking will kill 7 million people this year. Of that, close to 1 million will be people who have never smoked themselves but have been exposed to secondhand smoke. That is because smokers in the vicinity are allowing the smoke to get to people, and because people are exposed just by virtue of being close to where smoke is. All the damaging components of tobacco smoke affect a person who has never smoked. And so it's very important for there to be continuing awareness of decreasing initiation of smoking, despite the billions of dollars that are spent on advertising, to educate young people especially about the dangers of smoking, and also to protect those, particularly children, from exposure to second-hand smoke, and also people obviously in restaurants, and as is being done already on aeroplanes. So second-hand smoke has all the dangers to individuals who do not actively smoke that it does to the smoker themselves. We really need to have conscious, active awareness, decrease the amount of initiation of smoking, and help people to quit smoking.
If your church did something over the weekend to recognize World No Tobacco Day in your community, make sure you let us know. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Adventist News or on Instagram at Adventist Church.
Police Corporal Wayne Bartley allowed the Holy Spirit to use him to spiritually arrest one of his colleagues and 5 other individuals during an evangelist series he conducted recently.
Bartley, who has been a member of the Jamaica Constabulary Force for the past 14 years, believes that while he works to keep law and order in the country, he has a commitment to God to rescue persons from the clutches of sin and point them to Jesus Christ. I always tell persons that I am a police by profession, but also a preacher by conviction, and that's why I take time out to do the work of evangelism.
Bartley, who has been ordained as an elder for 10 years, was given the opportunity to baptize on March 11. Among the 6 persons baptized was one of Bartley's colleagues, woman detective Constable Claudine Johnson. Bartley described it as a joyful occasion.
Getting baptized was not part of Johnson's plans that day. Johnson had already started visiting the Ocho Rios Adventist Church. When he did the altar call, I felt impressed and decided to give my life to Christ then.
Coming up, Kathy Britton joins us for a new social media highlight.
But up next, the continuing story of Huss and Jerome.
Frightening fact. The forecast, plenty of sun.
Not fooling anybody. What did you do with the rock? Get the rock.
Metabolic syndrome is high blood pressure, obesity, and resistance to insulin, and is related to, well, a quick trip 6 feet under. Physical activity can help keep you from dying, but most everyone isn't taking this thing called exercise to heart. These doctors recommend us to get 30 minutes of moderate activity 5 days a week, or 20 minutes of intense aerobic activity 3 days a week. Give me a couple days to digest those numbers and these potato chips, and I'll get back to you on that one.
But there's hope!
So it may be hard to meet all the recommended guidelines for exercise. Well, in a recent survey of over 50,000 people with metabolic syndrome, if they just exercise a little bit each day, they dramatically decrease their chances of an early exit.
Olá, meu nome é Viviane e falo português. Existem muitos vídeos legais, mas poucos são traduzidos. Você pode ajudar.
Join the Amora translation and caption team today. Amora is easy to learn and fun. You can volunteer in your free time. Join this community today and provide great content in your language.
Welcome back.
Singing hymns, Huss and Jerome approached the stake as if they were attending a wedding and not martyrdom.
The legacy of their faith would last much longer than their relatively short lives.
To learn more about Bohemian Reformation, burned for their faith, and other episodes of Lineage, visit lineagejourney.com.
After Huss was delivered up to the secular authorities, he was asked one last time if he wanted to recant. "What errors shall I renounce?" he asked. "I know myself guilty of none." He was brought to this very spot here in Constance, and they burned him to death. They had to light the fire 3 times. They wanted to ensure his body was completely consumed. They dug up his ashes along with the soil under him and threw it into the Rhine River. About a year later, Jerome was also brought to this same spot. And as his executioner was standing behind him, Jerome said, "Apply the fire before my face. Had I been afraid, I should not been here." They died with heroic bearing, and a zealous papist commenting on the death of Huss and Jerome said these words: "Both bore themselves with constant mind when their last hour approached. They prepared for the fire as if they were going to a marriage feast. They uttered no cry of pain. When the flames rose, they began to sing hymns, and scarce could the vehemency of the fire stop their singing." Both these men lived their lives 100% for God, so that when they died, as tragic as it was, they died with no regrets. If we live our lives today 100% for God, fully surrendered to Him, we also can live a life where we have no regrets.
Do you ever wonder how hashtags get started or what the perfect hashtag would be for your social media posts? Kathy Britton is here to give you a few tips.
Hey there! Today I'd love to talk to you guys a little bit about hashtags. First of all, what is a hashtag? Well, hashtag is a word or phrase that comes after the hash symbol, also known as the number sign or the pound sign. When adding the phrase or the word after the hash sign, that phrase or word becomes a searchable link that anyone can click on and see everything that's going on according to what that word or phrase says. How do people use hashtags? Well, it's very simple. They group things together. It makes things easier to find. So if you're at an event or you're doing something on a family vacation and you want everyone to see all the posts and everything that has to do with that one event, you can just put it in a hashtag. Another common question that people ask is, how many hashtags should I have in my post? Well, the norm is 1 to 3 without it getting hard to read. However, if you're using hashtags for the interactions and the likes on your post, you can add as many as 30 on Instagram. And on Facebook and Twitter, you can even do as much as the Facebook post will allow you to do. Another question is, how do I find existing hashtags, or how do I make new ones? Well, there's this awesome website called Hashtagify, and it helps you find hashtags to use on your post based on popularity, relationships, languages, and other metrics. And if you need a new hashtag for your event, this is very simple. Just go to Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook and just type in the hashtag that you'd like to use and see if it's been used before. If it has been, try another one. Well, that's all I have. See you next time for more tips and tricks on social media.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History. Many Adventist institutions have had significant fires in their history, and on May 28, 1930, Canadian Junior College, as it then was, had most of its buildings destroyed in a fire that turned out to have been lit deliberately. However, the college rebuilt, flourished, and is today's Burman University in Lacombe, Alberta. On May 29, 1889, the first Adventist organization in New Zealand was created with the founding of the New Zealand Conference. It had a constituency of just 3 churches with a total membership of 155. This man, American missionary Arthur Daniels, was elected the first president, with another American, Mendel Israel, as secretary. Today, there are 2 conferences in the country, North and South New Zealand, comprising 107 congregations, while the total membership has grown 83-fold from 155 to 12,853. And on May 30, 1880, in Denmark, this man, John G. Mattison, organized the very first conference outside North America. Mattison had been born in Denmark but emigrated as a teenager to the United States, where he became a Seventh-day Adventist. For 15 years, he worked for Swedish and Danish immigrants to the United States before, in June 1877, he was sent as the first Adventist missionary to Scandinavia. 3 years later, his work bore fruit with the founding of the Denmark Conference, which had a constituency of 7 churches with 91 church members. Today, the Danish Union of Churches, as it has become, has 2,408 members in 44 churches. That was This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
We'd love to hear from you. Send us your feedback and tell us how your church is making a difference in its community.
Be sure to capture plenty of video footage and photos, then write up a summary of the event's important details. And feel free to send full video reports as well.
You can reach us by sending an email to annvideo11@gmail.com.
Before we say goodbye, here's a passage of good news from the book of Matthew 25, verses 34 through 36. The text says, "Then the king will say to those on his right, 'Come, you are blessed by my Father. Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me a drink. A stranger, and you welcomed me. Naked, and you clothed me. Ill, and you cared for me. In prison, and you visited me.'"
That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.